In this video, we'll be taking a look at Darth Sidious for the Vintage Collection, based upon his appearance from the Phantom Menace. So, similar to Darth Plagueis, who I reviewed previously, this is another action figure I kind of slept on and neglected for a little while. I distinctively recall going to Toys R Us on many occasions back in 2012, and I would have him in hand, and I walked through the store with him, and I was like, you know what, I just don't want to get him today. Uh, and even though he's an action figure I want, I was like, I'll hold off on him a little bit longer. Then fast forward a couple years, and I finally went ahead and got him. And I don't think I paid too much for him. I ended up getting him on eBay, and I think even then I only paid maybe $10 or $15 for him, free shipping, which is not too bad at all. Actually, it may have been $20 in free shipping, but still, not too bad for this action figure. It's really nice. Um, it's one of those things you look back on and it's like, why did I neglect on him at the time? Of course, now that we have this, now you can look at it in hindsight and you realize it's like, wow, a lot of these action figures we were getting at the time were really nice. The Phantom Menace wave that he was released in, unfortunately, peg worn really heavily, and it's because there's a lot of characters that people weren't necessarily overly excited for. There was a lot of them produced, but I think over time people look back on those action figures in that wave at the time. It's like, wow, those were some really nice action figures. We got like Ben Quadraneros, and then of course Darth Maul, uh, Rats Terrell, some harder and not necessarily common characters that we would find. Of course, Dulce Delphine and Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan. I think I have pretty much all of them at this point from that Phantom Menace wave, except for Quadraneros and Terrell, which I might get at some point. They've kind of jumped up in price a lot. I do recall seeing someone getting Ben Quadraneros for 64 cents on Amazon a couple years back, so maybe I'll hold out for a good deal like that. But anyways, let's just go ahead and take a closer look at the Sidious here. So as you can see, this is when he was much younger at the time. And there is a little bit more to this action figure than meets the eye initially. So similar to Darth Maul that was released at the same time as this one, they utilize a plastic hood and soft goods robes, which I think is a very nice combination. Oftentimes you can't get the hood to sit on an action figure right, but because it's plastic, it's molded as to how exactly it should be. And Sidious has a very distinctive look to him with his hood, and Hasbro captured that really nicely. And even though you can see his eyes at this angle, if you hold it at certain angles, you can kind of get Sidious as to how he really is, where you don't really see his eyes at all and you just kind of see his nose and his mouth. Nice sculpting work in his hands. And just pretty much all black robes. This is the same Sidious sculpt or the tooling that was used for the Emperor for the Return of the Jedi VC200 action figure with the throne room. I do have that reviewed on the channel as well, if you haven't checked that out already. So this Sidious sculpt has seen a share of reuses throughout the years, but this is the first initial one, as far as I know. In terms of articulation, he does have a ball joint to head, and hinged shoulders and elbows, swivel wrists, swivel waist, and then swivel hips, and hinged knees, and hinged ankles. So super articulated all around. In terms of weapons and accessories, he does have signature lightsaber, which has a little bit of different paint detailing on it. It's a little bit more of a golden brown color instead of just all silver and black compared to what we normally get. And he also does have an unignited hilt that attaches to his belt. So nice for Hasbro to include that. Sometimes they neglect and sometimes they deliver. So I mentioned there's a little bit more to this action figure than meets the eye, and that's because you could take his robes off here. So thankfully his hood's easy enough to pop off. And really nice head sculpt there of Ian McDiarmid. I do hope to meet him at some point at some Comic-Con. I would like to get a photo with him. There's not too many Star Wars action, or, what am I saying? There's not too many Star Wars actors out there that I necessarily am going to go out of my way to meet, but I think Ian McDiarmid is one that I would. Hayden Christensen's another one I would. Tamora Morrison I probably would. I'm trying to think. I'd say those are pretty much the only three I would go out of my way to go meet in person. Really nice head sculpt. This is before Palpatine gets all gray and he has more brownish hair here. So if you pop his head off, and yeah, sometimes the stand doesn't stay on very well, you can take his robes off here. You might be able to take his robes off with his head on, but for me it's easier just to pop his head off. Let's see here. Sometimes it can be kind of tricky to get these off. His hands get stuck on it, or one thing or another. So then you kind of have a little bit of an expanding universe figure here. But it looks like this is Palpatine in his training robes. Maybe this is based on the Darth Plagueis novel a little bit. There is that concept art out there of Plagueis and Sidious training together. And it looks pretty good. It's all just black robes. There is soft goods here, and then a little bit of plastic utilized. So it's nice that Hasbro did that, kind of like a Sith apprentice Sidious. Something that we don't normally see. And here he is with his master, Darth Plagueis. They look pretty good together. I would say I rarely keep the Sidious display like this. I always have him with his robes on. So go ahead and put these back on. Let's see here. Thankfully it is easy enough to just pop his head off. And that's what the ballpoint looks like. So this action figure, or this Phantom Menace Darth Sidious, did get released back in the Phantom Menace line. I don't have that action figure. I wouldn't mind getting him at some point. It's not too bad, and it looks pretty good. compared to a lot of the Phantom Menace action figures. Let's see here. Ooh. And thankfully a lot of those Phantom Menace action figures are fairly affordable. You could probably get a whole lot of them, $5 each, brand new. Let's see. Kind of tricky getting this robe over his arm. Alright, there we go. Kind of made his neck very morbid in color, like he's a vampire. Flesh on his neck there doesn't really match the color of his head. And thankfully it's easy enough just to put the hood on. Let's see here. Other than that, I think that's pretty much all I could tell you about this Darth Sidious. Would I recommend for your collection? I would. If you could only have one Palpatine / Darth Sidious for your collection, maybe this wouldn't be the one for you. Maybe you'd want the regular Emperor Palpatine from Return of the Jedi. But if you're a big fan of Palpatine and you're wanting multiples for your collection, I would say this is a must-have. It's a very nice action figure. Has a little bit of a expanding universe built into it, which is really nice. And overall, it's just a very great action figure. Go ahead and put his apprentice here, Darth Maul. And they look really good together. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more reviews in the future. There will be lots more to come. And if you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate your support. It'll let you know when more videos are posted. And check out the link in the description and read the description as well. And thanks for watching.